Welcome back. I'm working on the camper today, and after our trip to Florida, I discovered that we've got a pretty major problem. We have cracked the tongue on the camper. I bought this tongue. This tongue was supposedly off of like a 35-foot bumper pull camper, 31-foot, a big bumper pull camper. And this is 4-inch C-channel. This is the same thing that's on like a standard utility trailer, a trailer that's rated for 7,000 pounds. This would be a standard tongue for it. And I cut, notched, and bent and welded these two spots right here. And then it's welded into the frame, and also has got some big bolts in the frame. So it goes back into the frame all the way back to past that. There's two big 3/4 inch bolts there. That thing goes all the way back here. That's how far back into the old Suburban frame that thing goes, past that second bolt. So it's bolted back there, then it's all welded across here. This is a piece of angle iron that I put in there just for extra support that runs all the way across. That's welded in. Then I notched and bent it all so it would line up. And I've always known that if this thing were to fail, it would fail right here at my welds. And I don't know if you can see it down there, but that weld has cracked. So I know approximately when this happened. I had the toolbox opened up and unstrapped, and I strapped the toolbox to this cross member, and this was not bent before. It's bent now. It wasn't bent before. So I know our last day I had that unstrapped and that thing was straight and everything looked good, or I would have checked this beforehand. So I think our last night, when we were driving all the way through the night, when we were driving on that dirt road, we hit the road closed sign and we turned around and we were coming back out, and we hit a bump on that dirt road. There was a washed out spot and we hit it really, really hard. And I think when the back axle of the Suburban hit that bump so hard, that is when we cracked the tongue on the trailer. Because I noticed then that something felt slightly off, and I told Sarah, I said, something feels off. And I got out and checked the front end, because I figured it was something in the front end of the Suburban, which it could still be. I haven't noticed any issues with the front end, but I thought something just felt a little bit off. And I got to looking when we got back, and I kind of noticed it, but it was like 11 o'clock when that happened, or 10:30 or so. It was late. And we were just exhausted, and we were looking for a camp, and we just kept going. And then we ended up driving and staying up all night to get home. We drove through the night because we couldn't find a camp spot. So I think I noticed something was a little bit off when we were getting gas at one point that night, but I was exhausted and not paying the closest attention. So I just didn't think about it. Then when we got home, I got to looking at it, and I noticed there was a slight sag when it was hooked up to the vehicle. It was slightly sagged, and I got to look and pulled the toolbox off, and sure enough, the frame right here is cracked. This one's showing signs that it may crack. The other side is good. That one didn't crack at all. So it just twisted a little bit, not ideal. I didn't want that to happen for sure, but it's all fine. So what I've got to do is I'm going to take the grinder. I'm going to cut these welds out with a cutting wheel. I'm going to cut this cross piece out. I'm going to re-weld those. Then I'm going to box this frame probably from here back to here. I'm going to box that in with some plate metal to make that significantly stronger so I don't have to worry about those welds breaking. And then I was already planning on doing this beforehand. I'm going to add a straight piece back into here. I'm going to go from the tongue back through here, by this, back to the transmission brace, probably all the way back to that next brace that's back in there. Because after building the WJ camper and doing the tongue on it, I was like, this tongue is a lot stronger than mine. I need to redo mine. So I was planning on adding this. I just hadn't done it yet, just for extra strength and rigidity. But for now, I'm just going to box these in because I don't have everything else yet. We're actually going to swap out this trailer coupler soon as well, once my parts come in. So for right now, I'm going to work on boxing this. And I know some of you are going to say, it broke because it's too tongue heavy. This trailer is more tongue heavy than a normal trailer. This isn't really how you would typically design a trailer, but it's not too tongue heavy. This thing pulls really, really well. I have had zero issues with stability or with sway. Never had an issue. It pulls extremely well. And I can put a big old basket on the back full of firewood. No problem. I can pull a second trailer behind it like a little old boat. No problem. Stays stable. So that tongue weight keeps this thing super stable. And the tongue weight is not more, this Suburban is rated for 1,000 pounds of tongue weight, as is all my hitching components, as is this trailer tongue should be rated for that, based on what these are typically rated for. So this thing is not too tongue heavy. It looks like it, but you got to realize everything in here that's built out is just decking. Then the storage starts here on the other side, then more storage starts here. Then right about here behind the axle is all the kitchen space, all that wood. The refrigerator weighs, when the refrigerator's full of food, it weighs 50, 60 pounds. So all the kitchen stuff back here, all this weight. And then we just added the 17-gallon water tank. It's behind the axle. We're still gonna add a battery behind the axle. Eventually, we're gonna add a swing out rear bumper with a spare tire and the propane bottle and maybe a water jug. So by the time this thing gets done, it's really not gonna be too tongue heavy. It may end up being too tongue light. And that is part of the reason that I haven't finished out or done anything else on the front end of this. I wanna get all my back built. Then I'm gonna weigh it. I'm gonna find out exactly what my tongue weight is and everything, and then I'll decide what I can do on the front or what I wanna do. But it's not too tongue heavy. It pulls great. If I didn't have enough tongue weight, this thing would be dangerous. But with plenty of tongue weight, if you think it's too tongue heavy, you probably haven't pulled very many trailers. I see trailers all the time that are just, oh, they're balanced so nice, and they are wobbly as all get out. Tongue weight helps keep a trailer stable. Now, yes, you can have too much tongue weight, but this vehicle is rated to tow 8,600 pounds. This does not weigh 8,600 pounds, not even close. And it's rated for 1,000 pounds of tongue weight. This is not 1,000 pounds of tongue weight. It's a lot of tongue weight, but it's not 1,000 pounds. And I will weigh it soon. When I get a little further along, I will weigh this and I'll show you that. And if I'm wrong, I will be very surprised. All right, so the first thing I need to do is just disconnect all this electrical stuff. So I'll get that all disconnected. I've got a junction box there, so it's actually really easy to disconnect. So I'm gonna get all that disconnected and then start cutting some of this out of the way and cutting those welds down so that I can re-weld them and add some plating. Alright, I've got this ground down. I've cut out the part that was cracked over here, a couple other spots, kind of ground some things down. I'm going to re-weld those joints, and then I'm going to box these corners in. I've got some plate here. This is 1/8 inch, I believe, which is 1/4 inch. Not 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch. This is some thick stuff. This is overkill. It's more than I need here, but it's what was convenient to grab at the time when I needed to get this real quick the other day. So that's what I got. 1/4 inch it is. I'm going to cut a couple pieces and stick them in here and box these joints in and these corners and stuff, and it's going to make that spot significantly more rigid. So should never have to worry about any breakage again. All right, I've got this measured to the width that I need. And I got it clamped here, and I got this straight edge, so I can use that as a guide to run the plasma cutter down there and hopefully get a pretty clean cut on that. I'll probably have to grind a little bit on it, but hopefully not too much. All right, I got one piece cut and bent. It's gonna go in there just like that. It'll sit back in there a little bit further, and that'll box that in. I've still got to weld these up, so I'm about to call it quits for today and come back to this tomorrow or another day or something. But got some welding to do, got another plate to cut out, some stuff like that. So come back to it a little later. All right, guys, it's another day. Going back to work on the trailer tongue a little bit. I got this piece cut out the other day to go right in here, and I need to cut another one out of here for that side. So that's what I'm gonna work on right now. Try to get another piece cut out and bent to fit that curve so I can box that corner. This is how it's done when you really don't have the right tools to do things, but you're gonna make it work anyway. Wheel act just a little bit with this. All right, that's got it. Got my angle about right there. I'll kind of get that tapped in there. May have to grind on it a little bit. Got this one over here. So I'm gonna get both of those, do a little bit of grinding on here, get it all cleaned up and ready to weld so that I can weld these up. All right, I got enough grinding on it done. It's clean enough for what I got to do. So, see if I can get these plates welded on, got the old welder out, and see if we can get these tacked on and maybe welded up all the way tonight. I'm about to lose daylight, so I'll just give you a time lapse and I'll probably vanish into the dark. All right, guys, it's another day. I'm back working on the trailer tongue. I hit this with some primer the other day to keep it from getting surface rust. I've been working on this for a week or two now when I have time. So I went by and picked up a piece of 3x3 3/16 square tubing, and I'm going to use that to go straight from the hitch straight back to there, back to the transmission brace right there. So that is going to add a ton of rigidity and strength to this. I'm also going to brace it over to the sides, and I'm going to replace the hitch. So I need to get this cut off, and we're putting a new hitch on here. So I'll show you that in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and get this some grinding done and get this cut off. Then I need to get that cut down to length and some pieces cut. So I got some cutting and grinding to do, and it is hot. Why do I always do all my welding in the summer? I don't understand. Sometimes I don't think. Oh well, let's get to work. Well, I finally got it off there. That took a long time and a lot of work. but I got it off. So I'm gonna hit this with the grinder some more, clean all this up so we can weld the piece through here and weld the new hitch on. All right, I got this ground down, pretty much cleaned up, and I've got this piece of 3-inch square kind of sitting here showing you what I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna chop this off here, cut this down so that it fits down with these pieces down here flush, and then it will sit just under this piece of angle iron right here, and then it should sit pretty close. I may have to put a spacer, but it'll go on top of the transmission brace. So it's gonna run from here to there, and then I'm gonna take pieces and go from here to here. So that will give me a lot of strength and structure on the tongue. This is probably overkill on the thickness of this, being 3/16, or no, what is it? Yeah, 3/16. 3/16 wall, 3-inch square tubing, but I'm okay with that. It's a little extra weight on the tongue, but I'd rather have it structurally sound. I think part of the reason that this broke before was because this is C-channel. C-channel is really strong and lighter than square tubing in certain ways, but C-channel does not twist well. And if you've seen our videos going off-road, this thing is all over the place because they're rough roads, and it was probably twisting and torquing the tongue here back and forth, and those spots where the welds were just the weak spot, and that's part of the reason it failed. But this tying in here, and then the cross pieces across here, I'm going to take the leftover piece of this and cut 2 sections and span that. That is going to add a significant amount of rigidity to this entire thing and overall strength, and it'll tie us back a little bit further into the frame than what the existing C-channel does. And then I am also replacing the hitch. So I had a 2-inch hitch. It was on this tongue when I bought the used tongue, and it was sufficient. That's rated for 1,000 pounds. It was sufficient for everything that I needed to do here. But the articulation when you're off-road, that ball was probably maxing out on a fairly regular basis when we were running some of the more challenging trails that we've done. So I've been wanting to switch over to this style tongue ever since I found out about it a while back. This is a lock and roll. So this goes on the trailer there, and then we've got the hitch portion here, and I'll show you more about this later. When I put it on, I can show you how it works, but this gives us full articulation. So every direction, it gives us a ton more articulation than a regular ball hitch does. So we're gonna have articulation, so there won't be strain on the ball, potentially putting strain on the tongue anymore. So that is also gonna help. And it will also mean that if this thing rolls, which hopefully it never does, because that will be destroying a lot of hard work, but in the case that something bad happens and it does roll, the likelihood of it flipping the vehicle is lower. Now, that may mean that the likelihood of the trailer actually flipping is a little bit higher because the vehicle might help stabilize it some, but I am willing to sacrifice that because I would rather lose the trailer than lose the trailer and the vehicle, especially considering who all is usually riding inside of it. So we've got the lock and roll hitch set up. It's gonna get dark here pretty quick, but I'm gonna try to get this. I'm gonna get this piece cut to length here and start notching this out. Hopefully get this prepped tonight so that I can come out tomorrow morning and start getting all of this welded up, and then we'll be done. So got lots of cutting and welding to do. More work. All right, I've got this piece cut and in here, and this is what I've done on the end. I slid it in here, cut it off flush. It actually fit absolutely perfectly. It's right inside. This is 4-inch C-channel, this is 3-inch square tubing. It fits, as you can see, pretty much perfectly inside that. And then it is tight against that, which I know is hard to see, but it's tight against my angle iron and it's tight against the transmission brace. I could have not made it more perfect to fit like this. I was going to bring it up flush with this, but it fits so perfect right here. I'm doing this. I'm going to weld all around this. I'll weld a flat piece across here to span across where my hitch is going to be going. But this thing turning out really good. This is going to be stout, really stout. All right, probably going to call it a night. You come out tomorrow morning and start welding all this together. All right, I'm back this morning working on this. I've actually been out here for a while working on getting some of these little pieces made up and odds and ends, trying to get everything straight and in here the way I want to before I start welding it. It is hot today, so I got the awning set up over me and I got a fan because it is hot, and I got to put on a long sleeve shirt and everything for welding. So I got a big jar of ice water here, so should be good to go. I think I'm ready to start welding all this up. So time to start sweating. It's on there. I'm no welder, so it ain't the prettiest, but it's welded all the way around. And I would, if I were a bet man, I'd bet my camper that that thing doesn't fall off. So I think I'm done welding. I think I'm not gonna worry about those pieces. I'm gonna call this good. I'm gonna go inside and have some ice cold lemonade and then come full with the rest of this hitch. It's been sitting in the sun, so it's too hot to pick up. All right, so now this thing's cooled off a little bit. This is the other portion of the hitch that goes on here. So it goes on like that. This bolt goes through and this little spacer goes inside so that it can swivel on there. So let me put this thing put on. All right, so that's how it goes on. There's supposed to be right here a little keeper screw to center that. There's kind of a sleeve in there, and that's to center and hold that in place. But that little set screw is not in any of the packaging. It looks like the bag was torn, so it must have fallen out. I may have lost it, or it may have fallen out in transit somewhere. So I'm gonna have to find something that size. Looks like maybe 1/4 inch. Find a bolt that could fit right there to hold this thing. It'll center that sleeve and hold everything in place. And then this allows for lots of articulation. And then this part is the hitch that goes in the vehicle. So it fastens onto here, and it also allows full articulation the other direction. So that allows articulation that way, articulation this way, and articulation this way. if for some reason we were ever to have some sort of rollover situation. So, full articulation. And hopefully we never need that much. So this is called a lock and roll hitch. You can go look them up, lockandroll.com. This is rated for 1,100 pounds of tongue weight and 11,000 pounds total trailer weight. So this is plenty strong for this camper. And this tongue is significantly stronger now, so I don't think our tongue will be the next thing to break. I'm sure more things will break on this, but I would expect it to be something back with the axle suspension the next time something breaks. But who knows? I guess we'll find out when it happens. All right, guys, I think we've got it wrapped up for today. I put a couple, 2 or 3 coats of primer on this, and I'm starting to paint it black, but I've run out of paint, so I got to let that dry anyway, and I need to get some more paint. So we're gonna call it a day on this project. The tongue is completely rebuilt. I just need to do some more painting, hook up some wiring, and it's ready to go. So I've got a little bit to do before our next trip, but not very much. So I'm really glad to have that done. It's so much stronger than it was. So really happy about it. Won't have to worry about that now. Just need to do a little more painting and some wiring. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. There's more coming very soon. I don't know what, but we'll have something.